Great, if everyone's ready. Throughout the round, the negative team has been the only side to prove you with specific examples of what has happened when a country exports LNG and raises prices within their own markets. So it's because, again, that we have shown you substantial real-life situations, and I ask you to go with the more provable side, which is that of the negative team. So with that in mind, let's get into our first voting issue that specifically relates to the disadvantage of higher consumer prices, while also incorporating some responses to Sam's point in the 1AR. So you can overall tag this voting issue as potential chemical industry death. Potential chemical industry, or excuse me, not potential, chemical industry death. Chemical industry death. I have a couple of subpoints under here. The first you can tag as same situation. Same situation. This is actually a direct response to Sam's point that Australia and the United States are two different countries. But the fact is that both have extremely low LNG prices within their own domestic markets. Again, both the United States and Australia are huge LNG producers. So this shows that, again, this is a very similar situation in Australia to the United States, where when prices were raised up in Australia, then companies were forced to move to the United States where there were cheaper LNG prices. So again, we can see that we need to keep LNG within the United States for our manufacturing chemical industry to survive. My second point you can tag as EIA study, and this actually goes directly in response to their point of 244,000 jobs gained and their US-specific study. Once again, actually, I believe in cross-examination, we brought up the point that under the piece of evidence talking about how experts reduce job creations, which is from Daniel J. Weiss, he was directly quoting an EIA study, which is an industrial, which is affiliated with many chemical industries. So again, we can see that our evidence is also specific to the United States and what may happen when LNG prices are raised within the US. And then also to their point that basically their evidence, their US-specific study shows that exporting LNG will raise jobs, you can tag my response as no empirics. No empirics. Again, we have been the only side to prove the negative effects of when we export LNG to foreign countries and therefore drive prices within the United States itself. All the all the affirmative team has to prove their point that somehow this will increase jobs and markets is one piece of evidence, one study that may claim that. However, the negative team shows you true examples of what has happened in the past and also counter studies that show what would happen to the chemical industry. So the impact of all of this is net job loss. Again, we're killing a key manufacturing industry that produces so many jobs for the United States economy, and I believe is worth more than $1 billion, as we read in the 2NC. All right, now moving to our second voting issue, you can tag as inherency. Once again, as my partner pointed out in the 1NC, inherency is when there is no need to actually pass the affirmative team's plan. So my first subpoint you can tag as evidence not specific, and you can flow this directly in response to their point about 20 companies and 20 applications. Again, their evidence isn't specific and didn't ever really mention the fact that there is excessive regulation stopping those companies from exporting LNG to the United States. My subpoint B is nothing stopping companies. Again, companies can export to Japan if they want to, but it's been shown by much too high of prices that they simply won't. This leads me to my third subpoint, which you can tag as permits universal, and this is in response to their point, in response to our point of purpose of terminals, and they said that this does not specifically relate to Japan. So again, all of these permits are all these permits are universal to every single country, which means that, again, these companies can easily export to Japan if they wanted to. My second point is proves need. Again, by the fact that those terminals were built in the first place shows that the United States companies are able to export LNG if they wish to. My final voting issue is that of solvency. And they brought up a point how competition will solve our solvency point that companies won't export to Japan. And my response is a turn, or showing you how their argument actually works for our side. It's the idea that there's so much LNG currently in the world market that drives down prices, which means it's unaffordable for those LNG exporters in the United States to sell to any kind of foreign market within Asia. So it is because that either we could see massive unemployment if we pass their plan due to the death of the chemical industry, or that their plan simply doesn't solve in the first place, that I'd ask you to go with a more reasonable and safe solution, which is that of the negative team. Thank you so much.